Hey guys, it's Zach again, and today I'm going to be doing the second part to my drummer tutorial series in Logic Pro 10. So today I actually want to focus on the electronic drummers that are also available in Logic, and then in part 3 we will look at the percussionists and the producer kits finally. So today this is going to be kind of a quick video, but I want to demo some of the electronic drummers for you and show a few accessibility issues that you may run into when using these that still have not been addressed yet, but they're still usable and they sound pretty good. So let's go ahead and jump into Logic. Okay, so I've got Logic pulled up and I'm gonna make a new drummer track like this.
Westwood Sounds Volume 2.
Whoops, I'm actually in the wrong app.
Finder, Logic.
There we go.
Pro 1. Numbers, audio, drummer, radio.
Okay,
Select.
cool.
Audio.
So we have drummer and we have the default drummer,
4B.
who's a rock drummer.
1.
His name is Kyle.
Control.
So let's open up the library.
Library on.
There we go. That's a new feature in the latest Logic update. When you toggle the library on and off with the letter Y, it will tell you when the library is shown or not, which is cool.
In rock, alt, songwriter. Electronic.
So let's go in here.
Magnus, Big Room EDM.
So I'm not going to show you all of them. They're split into a few different categories, but here's the first one. His name is Magnus, and he does like EDM. So you can hear the description for him if we do Control-Option-Shift-H.
Big Room, a popular dance music festival headliner. Magnus creates thunderous electro house beats to complement empty mic synth leads and bass drops.
So there we go. We can listen to him for a bit.
4.
And you might have heard the tempo changed. Each drummer comes with their own tempo and kit, but you can of course change that whenever you want. There's that one. We could try another one.
Leah, Tech House, Electronic, Deep Tech Jasper, Dubstep, Electronic, Pile Ronnie, Electro Trap.
This one maybe?
1 bar 1. 4.
It's kind of weird, but interesting.
Julian, Julian.
Let's go to the hip-hop category.
Des, Trap.
And let's try...
Anton, Modern Hip Hop. Maurice, Boom Bap.
I like this guy. He's pretty,
What?
He's pretty funky.
4.
Yeah, let's stick with him for now. So I'm going to go to the drummer editor now.
Auto, drummer,
And
play.
so you have a lot of the same parameters. So if we go to the right,
Presets table,
got the
row 280,
presets.
freestyle.
So we could look at some of these.
180 gram. Higher learning. Keep it real. Needle drop.
Let's try. Let's see.
Keep it real.
Let's try this one.
Out of play.
Cool. We'll try
The message.
this one.
Out of play.
Yeah, let's stick with that one. So if I go to the right now, I can do that same simple complex pad from the previous video. Same type of deal. So if you go to the left,
Left. Simple cup.
gets more simple. We can make it more soft.
Down.
Or softer.
80 points.
Or make it louder.
Up. 80 points.
We can make it more complex.
Right.
Like this.
1.
And we can adjust the fills as well.
Out. Drummer edit. Intro. Auto.
So
Fills.
we can go all the way to the
20.
fill slider. We can
6.
turn it up. So yeah, there you go.
20.
Make it less. So it inserts less of the sort of fancy stuff in between the different sections. So that's all very similar to the regular drummers, but here's where it gets interesting. So, unfortunately, there are a few accessibility issues with these, which have never really been fixed. I don't know why that is. They're very minor, but if we go over to the
X drum instrument.
detail, or the drum instruments area where you can normally adjust which instruments you want and what variations you want for them to play. Unfortunately, these aren't labeled properly. The checkboxes to actually turn on and off various instruments are not labeled correctly. I'll show you what I mean. So if we go in here,
In drum 2, percussion sounds group.
if we go into this first one,
In percussion sounds group, hand clap, unchecked.
so that's not a hand clap,
Hand clap,
and that's the only option in here. If you go to the right, the slider to actually adjust the variation is labeled properly.
2 out of 5 percussion variations.
So it's just percussion. So if we were to turn it on,
40.
so it has this weird like slam noise, which is pretty cool.
Out of
If we go to the right,
2 out percussion sounds group.
so that's not even the correct group label either. So if we go in here,
In percussion sounds group. 2 items, shaker, hand clap, check.
yeah, see, like these don't even correspond to what we have selected.
Out
So
of-
if we go to the right, we can actually see what we're going to be changing.
4 out of 5 shaker and hi-hat variations.
See, that's actually shaker and hi-hat, not hand clap.
Shaker,
The first one is labeled correctly, but the second one isn't.
hand clap, check.
So they need to fix this. This is also an issue with the percussion drummers as well, but all of the acoustic drummers are labeled correctly. I don't know why that is, but it's a very minor issue that I'm sure they can fix. I just wanted to point that out in case people got confused.
Out of percussion sounds group, follow
Then
button.
you've got the follow button for the kick and snare again.
2 out of 6 kick, snare and claps variation.
But this time we've got claps as well. So if we were to turn the claps
Hand
off,
clap,
we could hear it without.
40.
Hey, what if we turn the snare off too? Then we could have sort of a breakdown section. Kind of like that. Let's turn it back on again. There you go.
Out of play button.
So, yeah, that's kind of...
Six.
There we go. So that's basically the percussion, or the electronic drummers in a nutshell. But here's the cool part. You also have, if we go over here to the tracks area like this,
Tracks header.
this is the same for the acoustic drummers as well. And it's a very similar thing to the producer kits, which we'll talk about next time. But
In track 2, Great Digger.
you have...
Track 1,
Let me get rid of this software instrument that we don't need here.
Track 1,
There we go.
Great Digger group.
If you expand this track stack, I believe I showed this to you before, but in case I didn't, if you interact with this, all the way to the left,
Track stack disclosure triangle.
there's a disclosure triangle. It's not really labeled right now properly, but if you expand it like this, just do Control Option Space on it,
Press tracks.
you now have access
Out track 2, kick 1.
to all
One
of the individual
logical
elements of the kit.
top-
So if I solo this kick,
4.
that's just the kick. So let's say you wanted to make this like tighter.
Out.
So
Line.
I could go say into
Piano.
the inspector.
Track. Inspect.
Check this out. So I'm gonna let me actually loop this drum track as well.
Track 1. Loop on. Track.
There we go. Okay, now check it out.
Line.
I'm gonna go to the inspector like this
Mix. Kick 1.
And I'm gonna
Mid
go-
off. Cue sound. Insert bar.
to my first effect slot.
Overdrive.
There are some effects already on here, but let's just add another one.
Overdrive.
And
Dynamic.
let's
Compress. Adaptive.
open up a
Desert 2. Enveloper.
an enveloper, which basically controls sort of how
Hit one.
tight the sound
Hit.
is, or how loose it is.
Table. In attack type.
It's a little more complex than that. Basically, it's a transient shaper, which is the sort of attack phase of a sound, which is like when the note first starts. So let's say you have a piano, right? If you play a note on the piano, here, let me stop this
20.
for a second. If you play a note on the piano and you let it go really quick, the sound is going to be very, very sharp, right? Because the attack of the piano, which is the first time that you hit a note, is going to be very quick. And the release, which is when you release the note, is also going to be really quick. But what an enveloper, or it's called a transient shaper, but Logic calls it an enveloper. That's just the name of this plugin here. What that allows you to do is to shape the characteristic of the attack and the release of any audio. So you're able to really sculpt like powerful drum sounds. You can make them more punchy, you can make them less punchy, you can kind of take them in put them back in the mix a little bit, which is really cool. So what I'm going to try and do here is let's try to, and there are other ways we could do this. We could actually go into the sampler and do it that way, but let's just do this as an experiment. I'm going to go to the release time.
Attack release time. Release gain.
Or sorry, the release gain, rather.
0%.
And let's just turn it down and see what it sounds like after.
40.
Okay, not too much of a difference yet. Let's turn it down some more. Okay, let's turn it up.
80.
Okay, so it looks like we actually have to increase the release time so that it catches
release gain.
that
Release.
sort of big decay at the bottom of the kick. So
600.
there we go. See, now you can probably tell it's accentuating it more.
1100.
There we go. Now, if I actually were to take it back,
0.
there we go. Now it's a little more. Now it's a little more tight. There you go. So if we unsolo it,
Top.
it's more tight. We could do the same thing to the snare, for example. So I can go to the snare track.
Piano roll track.
And you can do this with any software instrument that has like multiple outputs. So the acoustic drummers, they work like this as well. And when you have the producer kits loaded, you have even more options, which is really cool. So check this out. I'm gonna go over here.
Track 3, kick 2, track 4, kick 3.
And let's try. So we have multiple kicks in here. That's cool.
Track 5, snare 1.
Let's try this one.
Top 1, 40.
Perfect. Okay. Let's see if I can make this one a little more punchy. Let's see if we can do that with the same plugin.
In the mix, snare 1, correct
I'm gonna just open it up, and you can do this all while Logic is running, which is awesome.
Recent envelope bar.
Here's another cool trick. There's a recent tab at the top of the effects window when you're choosing an effect or an instrument, or an effect or instrument. I don't know. I can't remember if it's also a MIDI plugin as well. I'm not sure, but I know for effects and instruments, there's a recent tab at the top. You can turn that off if you don't like it, but it's really helpful because if you're going through and applying effects over and over again to the same tracks, it makes it a little easier because you don't have to scroll all the way to find the effect you want. If you apply stuff often, it'll always appear right here, which is really cool. So let's open this one up. There we go. So let's try the same thing, but let's try the attack this time. So let's turn the attack up a little bit and just see what that sounds like. Okay, so it's not doing too much. It's making it a little more clicky.
Attack time.
So
20.
Let's turn the attack time up
30,
so that it gets more of the attack.
35.
There we go.
100.
Turn it up a little bit too high.
100.
There we go.
Attack.
So let's turn it down now and see what that sounds like.
0, minus 20. Minus.
Okay. It's not too much of a difference, but it kind of helps.
So
0. Let's turn it up a little bit.
20.
There we go.
Release.
Let's try the release now. It's already really tight, but let's just see what happens if we turn the release up.
100%. Release.
Oh, cool. So it's a little more loose now. If we take the release time and take it up a little.
1800. 800.
So let's
release.
go to the
100%
again and let's turn it down and see what that sounds like. Cool. So we made it even more tight than it was before.
Minus.
Cool.
0.
So let's take the release
2%. 6%.
Turn it up just a little.
10%. 14%. 16. 18%.
Cool. So here's another trick you can do. You can apply compression to individual drums as well. So this is a popular mix technique they use a lot in acoustic drums. So if you wanted to make this even more punchy, I think there may be a compressor already applied, but we can just apply another one just for demo. So I'll go into the compressor here.
Dynamics.
The Dynamics menu. And let's go in here. Cool. So you can also get started by using presets. That's really helpful when you're not totally sure what sound you're kind of going for. You can kind of browse through the presets and find something. So let's say I wanted to go to
04 voice, 02 keyboard,
the drums.
01 drums, drum mix.
And let's try one that's for snare.
Octo drum kit, rock kick, rock overheads, rock snare bottom, rock snare top.
Okay, so this is more for acoustic, but let's just see what it sounds like.
Rock.
Oh, that's cool. So it's kind of giving it a almost an 80s type vibe. Let's try the bottom preset just to see what that sounds like. Interesting, kind of similar. Let's just keep going. I'm using the left and right bracket keys. They're right next to the letter P on the keyboard to go through presets quickly.
By Tom Comp.
So that's actually meant for toms, but
Toms.
you know, there are no rules.
Type R kick drum.
But let's go back to that.
Rock snare top.
Let's try that. Let's keep it with that, and let's adjust some of the settings in here.
Table ratio 4.1 compressor threshold minus 40 point.
So it's compressing pretty heavily.
Rate
What if we turn the ratio down a little bit?
Two.
There we go. There we go. So it's like sort of punchy, but it's not too punchy. If we turned it up,
5 11
that's really
20.
that's really compressing.
That's
That's way too high. So let's turn it down to say here. Cool.
Attack 77 point.
This attack and release is kind of similar to what we were just looking at in the enveloper, except this controls how long it takes the compressor to actually respond to a signal. So if we want the drums to be more punchy, we can take the attack and turn it down a little bit.
90.
Maybe like 20 or 30. There we go.
Release 100.
And the release helps with that sort of tone that I was actually watching a video earlier by this YouTube channel called, I believe it's Home Recording Corner. I'll put a link to it in the description. They have a lot of really cool videos on mixing and different kind of techniques you can use. And I just saw this video where they were demonstrating some different rules of compression. And one of them was that the release knob in a compressor really affects sort of the tone of the sound. So when after the compressor hits, when it's releasing, the tone can kind of change depending on how you have this release knob set. So it can be either tighter if we take the release knob, and I'm going to move it to the left. See, it's more, it's kind of more upfront now, or if you want it to be a little bit more kind of smooth, you can take the release and there we go. Now it's almost like it doesn't really have a ton of effect at all. So let's take it and let's do something pretty drastic. I kind of like how that sounds. I think it sounds kind of cool and unique. There you go.
Output gain 4.
There's some other parameters in here too.
1 knee 0 auto gain.
Oops.
40 output distortion. Soft pop.
You can have it distort a little bit because these are based on analog models of vintage compressors from like the 60s, the 70s.
It's soft.
So let's turn that and put it on hard and see what that sounds like. Cool. Why don't we try clip?
Clip. Off.
Here it is off.
Off.
Let's take it and put it on hard. And then
Outlink.
if you want to turn that distortion up a little bit too,
Output.
you can drive the gain
Gain.
of the compressor
4.5.
like this.
17.
There we go. Ooh, not really that. But it's distorting, which is cool.
6.
So let's take that.
11. 10.
Put it at like 10.
And side limiter.
What I'll do now.
Auto release. Unchecked. Row 4. Side active.
There are lots of parameters in here.
Net gain. Input gain.
Do
output gain. 0.0.
is turn the output gain
inside
down.
minus 5.0 dB.
And let's play it with the track and see what that sounds like.
Toggle.
So it's a subtle difference, but you can kind of tell. It's a little more kind of processed. It's interesting sounding. So yeah, that's sort of a demo of using sort of the electronic drummers and a little bit of mixing. If you guys like this sort of mixing tutorials, I can do some more. I'd be more than happy to sort of explain, kind of from what I understand, the sort of different aspects of mixing, compression, EQ, reverb, all that kind of stuff, sort of more from an audio perspective more than a visual perspective. I think that might be a good topic of discussion. So if anyone is interested, please let me know in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to do sort of a mixing tutorial. What we could also do now is make a quick beat with this drummer and processing that we've just done. So
Out
why don't
of
we
tapes.
go
Clip.
and I'll go
Untitled.
into the different loops, maybe the logic. Actually, you know what? No, let's try this. Let's make something from scratch. So I'm going to go to my software instrument, and I have Alchemy selected right now. So why don't we go in here and find some kind of cool keyboard type patch. I have something in mind.
Xylophone, versatile Titanic.
Let's try
Old fragile, mellow, old fragile, metronome.
This might be a bit too wonky for what we're trying to do, but let's see. Maybe not. Let's try something else.
Mellow chimes, luminous hot, gentle sine bells. Dusty record synth, distant vint, dusty record.
Let's try this one instead. There we go. Yeah. Let's kind of do a little chord progression, and then we can add a few more elements on top to make sort of a beat. So kind of a sort of loop type deal. So I'll quantize that real quick. It's not the best thing in the world, but just for sort of demo is how these drummers can fit into a project. Seeing as how we did that for the last drummer demo that I did. So why don't we do
1/6.
I'm just trying to figure out
4 beats.
Nope, we want 16ths.
1/60.
There we go. And let's make it swing
50,
a little bit.
40.
And here's another idea that you can sometimes use if you're doing things like playing piano, but you want it to be in time. Logic has a feature called Smart Quantize, which will, I don't know how it does it exactly. I think it just measures what you're playing. So it will try and preserve some of the subtle nuances that a pianist might make. So if I roll a chord like this, so if I, instead of playing it like this, I do this instead, kind of come in a little later with some of the other notes, it will try and preserve that, which makes it a little more realistic. So let's try that with this, because this is sort of a piano kind of line. We're on the library again. Let's turn the library off.
Why?
Whoops. Or not. Sometimes I'm going to use the control bar instead. Sometimes Logic will get hung up when you're in an edit field, and even when you navigate away, it will try and enter text in that field without you wanting to do that. So sometimes that's a little annoying. It's pretty easy to work around. So
inspect in tape 50 use.
And I'll turn this Smart Quantize on. So here, I'll play it solo so you can hear it. This is without Smart Quantize.
40.
So it sounds very mechanical, very kind of robotic. But what I'm going to do now is there's a pop-up menu.
Quantize, pop-up button.
Right here. We're going to
menu check.
Go over here.
Smart Quantize.
Choose Smart Quantize instead.
Smart.
And now when I play
40.
It's a little looser. Sounds a little more human. There we go. So let's see if it loops properly. If I just hit L.
Loop on.
I always like to test this because the less editing I have to do, the better. Perfect. It loops perfectly. Cool. So if we hit play now. We're on solo. There we go. So let's add a bass to this. Let's try and find something. Let's see. When we go back in Alchemy again. And
Inspector
I'll go
group
into the library.
Insert library. Basic arpec bass 70s.
And let's find something cool.
Metronome. Mute.
Cool. That's an interesting sound, but I don't like the delay.
Window.
Let's see if we can fix that.
Untitled.
We could use the smart controls with the letter B.
Smart.
And
smart.
In Alchemy presets,
20 transform pad. Smart.
You have a few different options. You have this transform pad, which I showed in a previous video where I was making a techno song from scratch, where you're able to sort of mess around with the X and Y axis of this and move it around to get different sounds. We can try that. There's also
28% delay circuit.
There's the delay right here. This depends on the sound you have selected in Alchemy, so these parameters can change, but this is the delay, and if we go to the right again,
Transform.
we have the other transform pad, and then
8% reverb.
we got reverb. So usually it's delay and reverb. Here's another thing that you can do, though, which I like a lot. We can go into the actual Alchemy plugin itself.
Inspect it.
So just like
MIDI.
how we normally do, we go into the inspector,
On Alchemy.
and we go
open.
over here to plugins.
Set.
So we can go in here,
Set.
and if we go to this table, the controls view,
Table. Input delay. 28.
you have a ton of parameters right here, and these change depending on what sound you have selected.
Cutoff. 32% sec vibrato. 0.
So you have vibrato here.
Noise.
You
0.0.
got some noise you can add. We could try that.
Reverb.
Got
8%.
some reverb.
Resonance. Wide. 0. Drive. Crossfade X.
So you got 8 parameters per sound, and these change depending on what sound you have selected, which is awesome.
Crossfade delay L time.
And actually, you have even more.
Delay R time. Attack. Decay. Sustain. Release. Transform pad X.
Cool. Now you have sliders for the transform pad. So if you don't want to use your mouse, you can use these, although this is a lot slower in my opinion.
Track volume A.
And then you've got all your different sources for Alchemy. This is not the most accessible synth right now, but hopefully that will change. But you do have access to all these parameters. So let's say I want to take this delay and turn it down. I'm not really a
27.
huge fan of the delay. Let's take the delay and turn it down a little.
20. It's 12. It's 2.
There we go. That's better.
5.
Same with the reverb. I'm not a huge fan of the reverb. Let's.
The noise reverb at 8%.
Very nice. It's a lot drier. Let's.
1, 4, 5.
There we go. Nice. We can also do the cutoff.
Out noise. Cutoff.
Here we are. Turn that down a little. Cool. That sounds pretty good.
Out
If
vibrato.
you want to try it, we could try the noise as well.
No reverb. No. It's 0. It's 0.
What happens if we put a little bit of that in there?
2.
It's very subtle right now.
Out 2. It's 7.
So it seems to me like it's adding a bit more
40.
attack. Making it a little more dirty. I kind of like that actually.
20.
So let's take that and put it at like
22.6.
22.6 or so. Cool.
23.6%.
Let's try it here. Yeah. Nice.
Close.
So let's try and add a bass part to this and see what that sounds like.
What?
Oops, I made a mistake.
On what?
Let's try that again. All right, here we go. Not perfect, but it works pretty well for this demo.
Loop.
So if we just loop that, I'm not going to quantize it because I like the sort of loose feel of it.
40.
There you go. So we can do a little mixing.
Inspector. Track 27. 7.
Turn this down a little bit.
Minus 4.
There we go. And here's the cool thing. You can mix all of your drums individually.
Track 1. Great. Track 2.
So let's say I wanted the hi-hat. I think the hi-hat's a little loud.
Track 6. Snare 2.
So we just have to find it.
Track 8. Rim. Track 7. Snare. Track 9. Clap 1. Track 10. Clap 2. Track 11. Hi-hat 1.
There it is. So
It
let's
was my-
just say we want to turn the hi-hat down a little bit.
In my 1. 40.
We can make sure it's the right one by soloing it, and it is.
Toggle. Minus 20.
So you can, there you go. And we can even change the sound if we wanted. So let's say we want to go back to that snare, that first snare we had.
Track 3. Kick. Track 4. Kick 3. Track 5. Snare 1.
There it is. Now let's say we want to change the sound. Let's find something else. We can go into the library.
Search live. Electronic drum.
We can go to the electronic drum.
After
kit.
party. Snares.
And
Snare 1. Crate digger.
if we go
Analog circuits. Snares.
down
Kit pieces. Kicks.
to the kit pieces,
Snares.
we can go to snares.
Rim, beat machine.
And I guess it plays automatically. That's cool. So we can just kind of go until we find something
Rim, crate digger. Rim,
we like.
Rim, Cynthia.
Really cool.
Rim, snapback.
So let's try this one and
What?
see what this sounds like.
40.
Cool. So we kind of just customize the kit a little bit. And we can do that for each drum in this, which is really awesome. We can kind of keep going and see what else we've got here.
Rim, Cynthia. Rim, tension. Rim, tough kit. Rim, trapdoor. Rim, video star. Rim 1, drum set. Rim 2, drum synth kit. Snare 1, after part.
So yeah, you've got a ton
Snare
of
one.
different
Snare 1.
drums. This isn't even all the content. Logic 10.5 added literally hundreds and hundreds of new samples. So if you go in and customize all these, you will really have a unique sound.
Snare 1, big room. Snare 1, boom bap.
So you can just
Snare
kind
1,
of keep going. That's the crate digger kit we had before.
Snare 1, crate digger. Snare 1, deep tech. Snare 1, depth. Snare 1, drop. Snare 1.
Some of these go really hard as well.
Snare 1, futuro. Snare 1, a beat.
Let's try it.
Snare-
I like this one.
what?
This one's kind of cool.
4.
That kind of fits with the other sound here. So yeah, there you go. You've got a lot of options for controlling what you want your kit to sound like, what effects you want, and all of this works with the acoustic drummers as well. And we're going to look at that very in depth next time. We're going to go really deep into the producer kits and look at using all of the different microphones and a ton of the different drums that you've got available. You really have a lot more control than what you may initially think. So it's a really exciting time. I'm going to be back in a few days to talk about the producer kits and show you the percussion drummers as well. Those are really cool because you can add different levels of percussion to your song. So if you need like a conga or a like a shaker or some hand claps or something like that, they've got you covered there, and you have a lot of control over the different sounds as well. So stay tuned for that. That's all gonna come up in part 3. So I will see you guys next time.